With less than a week to go until voting closes on the Bricklink Series 5 designer program, it's time to look at the ones just that little extra bit special. Over the past week, we've looked at amazing castles, incredible trains and fantastical pirate sets. From massive scale to super small, I've given you my thoughts, but here are the 10 sets that stood out to me as being different, innovative, and for some, downright incredible.
I am a master builder!
Two Resting Knights is a diorama that really captured my attention and stood out as being different from anything else that has been part of this submission series. Now straight away I have to say there are things I don't like about it. Capturing the correct shaping and proportions of human form in LEGO is extremely difficult, and from the faces to the legs, there's details in this which I do think miss the mark. There's definitely room for improvement here, to my humble eye. However, I do feel that this set is very evocative. It captures a moment, two knights warming themselves by a wonderfully done campfire. And whilst I don't think this will stand a chance of being a finalist, I simply can't see it being that popular. I want to give it its due for being really quite out there in comparison to everything else that has been submitted. I find it quite charming, almost calming to look at. And for me at least, really allows the imagination to play, thinking about what the story could be behind these two knights. Perhaps resting before battle, or else having just come from one. So for me, it's refreshing to see and deserving of a place on my list. Another that really stood out to me was this, the medieval construction site. I do love the look of cathedrals. For example, the Notre Dame set that just came out. The moment I saw the first leaked images, I just had to get it. This is of course very different. We have a cathedral that is being constructed, and we are used to having complete models when it comes to LEGO. It's that very difference which makes this quite innovative to me. There's something really quite charming about our minifigures here, busy at work on what's going to become a splendid cathedral with wonderful stained glass windows, and it's just something very different that I think would look great on display. It's a reasonable size as well, 2,318 pieces, just under the average size, and I do applaud the idea. I think it actually takes quite a bit of guts to deliberately do something which is unfinished, still a work in progress, and yet look very polished whilst doing so. But I guess, like all of these, it comes down to personal taste. It makes me think of the likes of Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth, the type of stories and time period I really enjoy, but that's just me. For others, this probably will do very little, and I doubt that we would see it chosen, but something I do find innovative and quite compelling to vote for. Next up is this Kraken Attack, one I covered in my video based around sets upon the pirate theme, but this is just brilliant. Very rarely do I see a display piece which captures such intense action and movement in a static display set. Perhaps it's fundamentally flawed in you can't really play with it too much. There's so much going on, I'd be worried about knocking things down, but you almost don't need to. I think this would be a really involving build experience, and once you had it on show, you just have to stop and stare. With this incredible Kraken with its massive teeth and incredible tentacles wrapping around and cracking this ship in two. I love the attention to detail that's gone into here. The colours that have been chosen I think are perfect. The minifigures are fun, from the ones that are terrified to those bravely battling the creature. And of course the Kraken itself has been done with so much presence. The way it's positioned, it really does look alive, like it's taking this ship down to the depths. So I had to include this model, 2,200 pieces, again just under average, fantastic size. If it made it as a finalist, I would definitely be trying to buy this come crowdfunding, I'll tell you that now. Moving on though, we come to this, the mysterious mansion of Brickwood Manor. What a gorgeously detailed, brilliant build. Packed full of fun. I love this spook rating. I think I'll definitely be hanging around the phone room or the entrance hall where there's no frights going on at all. Though I have to question, the trapdoor room? Is that not spooky? Surely that's got to have at least a little bit of spook factor. I just find this very characterful, great fun, one that would look really cool on display but also great for playability too. It does remind me somewhat of the LEGO Ideas Scooby-Doo Ravenwood Mansion that's currently in review. Completely different designers, and I'll be honest, I prefer this mansion more. It really captures my imagination and I would love to see it done. That said, this is very close behind it. I like it extremely much. I guess, to be frank, if you put Scooby-Doo in here, I would be just as keen for it. I think it's brilliant. As impressive as it looks on the outside, the interior has been done wonderfully as well. It's very fun, packed full of features, but still a good amount of space inside to position minifigs and really immerse yourself in the play side of this set. I mean, I really liked the Haunted Mansion set that LEGO gave us officially, and I'd like to see more gothic, darker style sets done by them as well. Especially ones like this, which still have colour very carefully and cleverly put throughout. You know, if this was all grey, it would be, quite frankly, a bit drab, but no. From the ivy growing up the outside, to the rather scary looking brown of the tree, and of course, from the windows to the tip of the tower, there's just colour that's been put through this in just the right way. So for me, an excellent choice. Now, 3,241 pieces. It's much nearer the bigger end of things, but would you really mind if this came in a little bit more expensive? To me, it looks worth it. As for the smaller side of things, if you watch my video on the sets under 1,500 pieces, you'll know I was very impressed with this 577 piece popcorn wagon. I think it takes a lot of skill to actually get something that looks this good with so few pieces, and the colours that have been chosen just pop beautifully. The shaping is wonderful. Whether this would be at a country fair, in an amusement park, outside a circus, or even, as I said in that video, at a Christmas market, as it makes me think of that. There's so many places this could be integrated into an existing city setup, and is just so pretty. And here's the thing, I'm always wary of giving predictions because either I make myself look like a genius, or more likely I make myself look like an arse, something I'm far more familiar with. But I do think that this one is going to get chosen as a finalist. I think it's going to be extremely popular, it fits in so well, it's very different in the way it looks from anything else in, I was going to say its size category, but pretty much any size category of the submissions for Series 5. So if it isn't chosen, I am going to be shocked. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but I would definitely be getting this if it is a finalist. Next up is Deep Sea Discovery. Yes, I know I covered it in the Pirates video, so I will be brief, but here's the thing. I love the idea here, the blending of the old pirate theme in the shipwreck with the modern day city explorers who are diving the depths down to discover what is going on. It's fun, it's different, there's great playability here, and it would look super cool on display. Perhaps a little bit difficult, obviously, to integrate into a city setup. That's the only thing that goes against it. You'd really want to have the ability to have your city on display, whether it's on shelves or on a table, and then to be able to have this directly underneath it so it does look like the characters are diving down. I mean, look, if you're interested in doing that, if you're the sort of collector that likes building a world like I do, if it's just a standalone display piece, maybe that's almost better because then you don't have to worry about integrating it. I think that's probably the main thing that goes against this model, is it's certainly not small, but I find it really refreshing and innovative to be combining these two very different themes in a way that does make perfect sense. And is just so fun. 2,585 pieces, it's almost smack on the average size, and for me at least, it really does hit the spot. I think it's a very clever concept and an absolute standout design for this series. Now then, my next choice is this, the Art Factory, quite probably the best modular, I think, for Series 5. This has been really cleverly done and it looks so good. First of all, I love that our fan designer has done this as a folding design. It makes it so much easier for access and display. That's brilliant. What really captured my attention though was the elevator. Okay, a working elevator. That is cool. But just look at the inside as well. Photography studio, really well thought out. The painting academy with our artist and a couple of easels, just brilliant. The piano classroom, again, love a piano. The ballet studio, even with the bar running around it. And of course, the exhibition hall for the artworks down below. Oh, and of course that rooftop reception. Again, it's just very well thought out. There's so much story going into this. The building on its own would be a winner for me, but just having this working elevator in it does elevate it, no pun intended, to a whole new level. I think the detailing is spot on. You know, there is free space in here. It would be so easy to try and overload this. The designer hasn't. I think it's just about the right amount. And it's funny as well, the whole brick soup thing. I've never understood that with art. Like the whole baked beans and tins of soup stuff goes over my head anyway. No offense if it's your sort of thing, I just don't get it. But yeah, I think that's very funny. So overall, from the spacing that's been left to the colours that have been used, the layout of the overall design, it's absolutely spot on. And the more that I look at it, just the more little design details I find. And I really enjoy models where you can actually properly spend time, not just building them, but then looking at them and going back and finding those different things. It's awesome. And even the roof with the skylight is so cool. So for me, this modular from inside to out knocks it out the park. Of course, that brings us to the Old Skull, a corner modular build, which, whilst not as impressive as the last entry in some ways, certainly surpasses it in one. And that, again, is just the innovative idea going on here. This blend of the old Pirates theme into a modern city setup, something that I really applaud. There's so much story that has been packed into this, and it is really different. I mean, just look at the exterior again. You put that on display on its own, or in a city setup, and it just stands out so well. I look at it and it makes me smile. I think it would be a real talking point. I mean, if people come round and they see that, they're going to ask you about it, aren't they? It's just super cool and really does stand out from the crowd to me. I said I like the shipwreck from earlier, and I do. In some ways, I like it more than this. How big is this one? 2,757 pieces. But here's the thing. This is going to be easier to integrate. So I'm slightly torn between them in that respect. I probably prefer the other, but this is definitely going to be easier to put into a setup. Either way, I just applaud the out-of-the-box thinking here. It's not so different that nobody's going to be able to find somewhere to put it, but at the same time, there are a lot of submissions which are very similar for Series 5. And to be fair, any of the Bricklink series, or indeed LEGO Ideas, there's always a lot of similarity. So whilst this might not be for you, and that's not a problem, please post down in the comments what you think, even if you don't like it. I'd like to say that surely everyone has to acknowledge, at least, this is refreshingly different. And for that, I applaud it. Now then, for my penultimate choice, it is the Mushroom Village. Yes, of course, we just had the Mushroom House for Series 2. I was able to manage to pre-order one, along with the train station, both of which sold out within the first 24 hours. I knew that was going to be popular. This design has really captured something. And here is the next creation, a full-on Mushroom Village. Now, I know that this will split opinions. There'll be some that look at this and just hate it. It doesn't do it for them at all. Not a problem. Because likewise, there'll be people who absolutely love it. I really enjoy all the different colours. I think there's just pure, simple, characterful, colourful fun going on here. Sometimes it's okay to embrace your inner child and just enjoy something for the sheer fun of it. And this is that. It's bursting with fun. I do have one problem with it. 2,427 pieces. Now, to be fair, that's just under the average size that's being looked for here. So the smallest entry can be 400 pieces, the biggest 4,000. Across the 5 finalists, the average is going to be roughly 2,500 pieces. This is obviously a lot bigger than the Mushroom House. That means it's going to be quite a bit more expensive. One of the big attractions to that Mushroom House was it was relatively cheap. Will that put some more people off? Possibly, but you know what? It's still not overly large. It would add so much extra to that world. I think it's going to have an awful lot of support. I would be, let's just say, not surprised if this is chosen as a finalist as well. And you know what? It's deserving if it does, because it's another one where the more that I look at it, more little fun things I find, like the little green swords that are being used down here. I know nice parts usage NPU is overused quite a lot, but there is a fair amount of it going on in here. It's a set that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's designed to make you smile and just to bring you joy. And sometimes there's not enough of that. So I think very well done. I like it a lot. It had to feature on the list because it's just so different and an excellent follow-up to the Mushroom House. So we'll see what happens. I think it's pretty great. But then we come to this, and for any of you who saw my video on the castles, you will not be surprised that I'm featuring Adventure in Transylvania by Sleepless Night, who already had such success with the Mountain Fortress, but this transcends that, quite frankly. It's one of the most fantastic LEGO, I was going to say mocks, but even if we want to include officially released sets, it's just one of the absolute best that I have seen. I adore the Gothic design, everything in this, from the colours that have been used to the different pieces making up the architecture. This is obviously supposed to be Dracula's castle. It can't be called that, hence Adventure in Transylvania. That's fine. I think it's an absolute masterclass in design. so wonderfully done, from the horrifying, in a good way, exterior to all the fun little features on the inside. I'm sure that this is going to have an awful lot of popularity. I mean, I've seen that already from the comments made about it on the previous video that I did, so I will be very surprised if this doesn't make it as a finalist, to the point I would find it quite questionable. So I genuinely think this is going to be one, and very deserving it is too. I will 100% be trying to buy this come crowdfunding. It's extremely different. What a display set. What a play piece as well. It's oozing character. I mean, look, in that castles video, I also mentioned the floating waterfall castle, which, to be fair, probably does deserve a place in this video as well because it is so different. And I highly recommend you go and look at it. I just don't want to repeat too many things from previous videos. If I have to choose one though, it is this. It really speaks to me. Out of all the fantastic designs that have been put forward for Series 5, this is the one that I like most and do really want. Of course, it's hard. There can only be 5 finalists, and there have been so many brilliant submissions for this series. These are the ones that, for the reasons I've explained, have stood out to me just above the others for being that little bit different, for thinking outside the box and creating something special. And this is the crowning one for me. But of course, it's all personal opinion. Let me know down in the comments what you think, which ones would also have made your list. And of course, you've only got until the 14th of June to actually go and vote, so make sure to do that. Please consider liking and subscribing, and check out one of these 2 videos on your screen next for some more Lego-y goodness. Thanks again. See you on the next one.